There's a popular quote, "Why should I apologize for the monster I've become? No one ever apologized for making me this way." This quote fits perfectly with the Joker, don't you think? In 2019, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker movie was extremely popular. Joaquin Phoenix won an Oscar for his acting, and over the time, the film got a cult status. In this video, we will talk about the thorough transition of Arthur Fleck to becoming Joker, and how the movie took inspiration from other classics. In the movie, Arthur Fleck has two sides, himself and the Joker. As Arthur, he faces a lot of tough situations that make people feel sorry for him. The audience connects with him as they see the city of Gotham from his perspective. At first, he just wants to make people happy, but as things go wrong, he becomes filled with anger. One of the crucial scenes in the film occurs when Arthur Fleck performs stand-up comedy at a local club.
Hello, it's good to be here.
If you see the clip closely, you will see that Arthur aspires to become a comedian, but his routine is met with awkward silence and discomfort from the audience. This moment is significant because it highlights Arthur's struggle with his mental health, his desperate desire for approval, and the disconnect between his perception of humor and the audience's reaction. It sets the stage for Arthur's descent into madness and the transformation into the Joker. But primarily, Arthur's struggles make it easy for people to care about him. He's not seen as the Joker yet, but as a guy trying to survive in a city that's hard on him. The movie shows how the city is divided, especially from Arthur's point of view. The rich people in Gotham don't care about the problems of the poor, and this makes Arthur feel even more alone. The city is falling apart, and the elites only pay attention when it affects them. Arthur is frustrated and doesn't get much help, representing those who are poor and ignored. The movie is easy to understand, and you can easily relate to feeling left out by those who are supposed to help. But Arthur ended up doing some really bad things. We see a story about someone who was treated really badly. Arthur feels alone because he lost his job, his mom lied to him, and people left him. This happens a lot in real life too. The director Todd Phillips usually makes funny movies, but he blended sadness in this one. Arthur, who is like a joke in Gotham, gets really angry and starts hurting people. He didn't plan to kill specific people. Anyone could have been a target. Gotham doesn't care much about what he's doing. He also doesn't care about who his next prey will be in Gotham. Joker becomes a symbol of unfair justice, making people feel like it's us against them. Arthur leading the way represents going against the system, even if it's not fair, even if it's illegal and anarchy. The movie with its intense ominous music sets the perfect creepy and melancholic ambience, which slowly reaches its crescendo, showing the people of Gotham getting ready for a fight, wearing clown masks. One important thing about Arthur is that he has a condition that makes him laugh at the wrong times, especially whenever he's stressed, like before his stand-up comedy performance on stage, or in the subway train. This makes life even harder for him and adds to his depression. According to the psychodynamic theory of Sigmund Freud, Arthur's laughter and disturbed psyche result from repressed memories and childhood trauma. His adoption of a clown persona and fantastical escapism mirrors Freud's defense mechanisms, shielding against harsh realities. People say that we can get a glimpse of the mind and thoughts from one's writing. Looking at Arthur's mind more closely, we see his journal is all over the place, showing his chaotic thoughts. In one part, he writes that he wants his death to make more sense than his life. Either Arthur didn't have a good education, or he might have had trouble learning things. While this isn't the main reason for his problems, it could have affected how he thinks and sees the world. This, along with the memory of him seeking comfort in a hospital, shows how much he needs a stable and comforting place, which is common for people with depression. Arthur has a tough time with his mental health, and it affects everything in his life. He tries to get help, like taking medicine, but it's hard for him. He feels pressure to pretend to be happy for other people, even when he's not. This makes his depression worse because he has to act like he's okay when he's not. Arthur tries to act happy, especially around his mom, who calls him happy. But he doesn't like that he has to hide who he really is because of what society expects. You can see his frustration in how his body reacts, like his legs shaking when he tries to hide his feelings and going numb in tough situations. These hidden emotions, particularly the hidden anger of Arthur, plays a big part in him becoming the Joker. The first time we see it explode is in the trash scene. As the movie goes on, his anger comes out when bad things happen to him. Even though he's not naturally an angry person, he has a lot of built-up rage that comes out violently when he's pushed too far. But everyone comes up with a unique coping mechanism when pushed too far. To deal with bad feelings, Arthur also makes up stories in his mind, like pretending he's on a TV show or having a relationship with a woman named Sophie. Making up this relationship is really important for Arthur. It makes him feel more confident and happy, especially after some bad things happen in the subway. In his made-up world, Sophie is like a friend who supports him and makes him feel good. Dancing also seems to show when Arthur is happy, even if it's connected to death and violence. It's a way for him to let out his strong feelings. But these ways of dealing with his feelings don't work well, and more bad things happen. Arthur's world falls apart when he learns that his relationship with Sophie isn't real. He's left all alone without anyone who really cares about him, even though he doesn't like the world in general. He is nice to people who treat him well, like the person at the hospital and his old co-worker Gary. Learning about bad things that happened to him when he was a kid, his mom's mental health problems, and being adopted make Arthur feel lost and confused, taking away any sense of who he thought he was. At first, Arthur Fleck is a guy dealing with problems who wants to be a comedian and take care of his sick mom. He thinks he might be the son of Thomas Wayne, but that idea is crushed when Thomas denies it, and there are adoption papers. His mom, who used to be good, turns out to be mentally unstable, and may be the reason for his bad situation. Arthur's laughing problem comes from getting hurt as a kid, and his issues go back to not being taken care of when he was little. It's weird because if he was really his mom's son, we might think his problems are because of genes, but they're actually from being mistreated. Studies in real life connect being abused as a kid and getting hurt in the head to turning into a serial killer. Psychoanalyst Carl Jung's idea of the shadow, representing hidden evil traits, matches Arthur's hidden darkness. Arthur's clown persona is like a fake version of himself. He shows to the world, and the laughter is a sign of his deep, hidden dark side. When he's attacked on a subway, Arthur fights back and realizes he can be violent. This challenges his belief in being a good boy, and reveals the fake image created by his mom. Arthur's relationship with his mom has similarities to Jung's idea of a devouring mother, holding him back. Despite the apparent mistreatment, Arthur stays with his mom, acting like a partner, which isn't healthy. Meanwhile, his mom gets sick and a famous person makes fun of him on TV, making Arthur feel even worse. Finding out that he's adopted and doesn't have a real family makes things even harder. Now he has no mom, no pretend dad, and feels really alone. All of this makes Arthur turn into a ruthless man, the Joker. Arthur practically becomes the Joker after he kills his mom. He plans to end his life on Murray Franklin's show, but instead, he's on the edge between being Arthur and being the Joker. When he's on stage of Murray's show, dancing and kissing Dr. Sally, he feels more confident because he's gotten rid of his old life, even though he first wanted to die. Arthur changes his mind when Murray is mean to him. Arthur's life being a mess made more sense for him to end it, but Murray's meanness stops him. Arthur, who's getting more and more disgusted with the world, is made fun of by the guy he used to look up to, which drives him really mad. As the show goes on, Arthur strongly believes that everyone is bad, and the world is a horrible place. He complains about people not being polite, and having to take mistreatment without saying anything, especially from important people like Thomas Wayne in Gotham. Arthur's anger builds up, and he stops thinking about hurting himself. Instead, he starts to enjoy the disorder he causes, fueled by a lifetime of hating things a lot. In the big moment on the Murray show, Arthur shoots Murray, and this confirms he's become the Joker. He explains that he's killing people because he thinks they deserve it. The laughter before this is real, showing that Arthur's long-lasting emotional pain has reached its peak. This scene is a turning point in the film.
Get what you fucking deserve!
The scene is intense, and Arthur's transformation into the Joker becomes evident as he sheds the remnants of his former self and fully embraces the chaos he represents. This scene is a culmination of Arthur's journey and sets the stage for the film's dramatic climax. After Arthur is arrested, he sees the aftermath of what he's done and enjoys the chaos. When he's shown to a crowd, he loves their admiration and feels happy about the new world he's created. The subway killings in Gotham City get a lot of attention in the news. This affects the poor areas, where people start protesting violently with a slogan like "Kill the Rich." They see the Joker as a hero because they think he's standing up for those who are struggling financially. This connects to Jung's idea about collective shadows, which are hidden negative aspects that a whole group of people share. The violence keeps getting worse, and even though Thomas Wayne, who is a target of the protests, ignores them, it just makes things worse. In short, the movie Joker looks at how Arthur's character changes, influenced by Jungian psychology and what's happening in society. The film talks about what happens when people ignore problems and how it affects everyone. Arthur doesn't hate rich people. He's upset about how mean people can be. He does violent things like killing some rich guys, his co-worker, and a TV host. This makes people see him as a hero fighting against the bad stuff in society. But Arthur doesn't really understand himself or what he's becoming. Even when he has moments of realizing who he is during his transformation, he doesn't fully get it. The movie ends with Arthur thinking about how he accidentally got back at Thomas Wayne, connecting Bruce to his own family problems. The reason behind the final murder is unclear, whether it's seen as a deserved punishment or just a random act. But even with this uncertainty, we understand that Arthur has had a tough life in a harsh city full of tragedy and pain. Through violence and suffering, he becomes the Joker, a character who thrives in the chaos he's caused. In the end, Arthur Fleck is definitely the Joker, a sad, bad guy shaped by tough times and mistreatment of the society. His wrongdoings are a result of a life where he felt forgotten and treated badly, turning him into an agent of chaos. But if we look into his thoughts and ideas, you'll see that Arthur, the Joker's real name, takes care of his sick mom, Penny Fleck, and wants people to see him as a good person. He wants to be a nice guy. As he becomes the Joker, he starts seeing life as a crazy funny thing, which connects to Albert Camus' idea about life being absurd. In Arthur's topsy-turvy world, where the lines of morality blur, echoes of Camus' The Stranger resonate. Society's norms, once questionable, crumble under Arthur's scrutiny, dismissed as a ridiculous system of morals and ethics. The Joker emerges as the arbiter of his own morality, justifying murder as a response to perceived injustice. Wrapped in the cloak of the absurd, he finds liberation and strength, transcending conventional morals to plunge headlong into chaos. Camus, the philosopher, describes the absurd man as someone who isn't afraid of God and sees life's randomness as a sign that God doesn't care. The absurdity, according to Camus, could lead to personal fulfillment. However, the Joker's acceptance of the absurd doesn't bring enlightenment. Instead, it unfolds as chaos, a destructive force driven by his dark and intense inner self. Not only that, nihilism also permeates Arthur Fleck's evolution into the Joker. Arthur Fleck becomes the Joker because he rejects normal rules and thinks life has no meaning. Arthur feels left out and sad, especially because of money problems. This shows nihilism, which means believing in a world that doesn't care about people who are struggling. When Arthur becomes violent in the subway, it's like he's saying no to society's rules, showing he thinks traditional morals are meaningless. The Joker doesn't follow the usual villain ideas. The movie shows how a protagonist becomes an anti-hero. He causes chaos without a clear reason, which is another way the movie shows nihilism. His actions make the city fall into disorder and anarchy, which is what nihilism is like. Speaking of nihilism, loneliness, and anarchy, we can't help talking about the cinematic marvel Taxi Driver, a masterpiece that resonates deeply with the Joker. Joker, drawing inspiration from the lonely, despondent protagonist archetype born in Taxi Driver, sparks varied opinions. Originally linked to director Martin Scorsese, the Joker, constrained by scheduling and the character's comic book nature, gracefully bows out of the director's chair but assumes the role of producer. Enter Todd Phillips, the man who takes the reins and casts Joaquin Phoenix as Arthur Fleck. The movie shares visual style and setting with its predecessor, featuring a dark color scheme and characters living in poverty. The backdrop is Gotham City oozing with grime and heartlessness. Arthur Fleck's interactions in a working-class locker room resemble scenes from Taxi Driver, but there's a chilling difference. While the homage to Scorsese's classic is clear in this Gotham City, the Joker's painted smile sometimes obscures the essence, creating a disturbing departure from the original material. Unlike De Niro's character in Taxi Driver, Joaquin Phoenix's Arthur Fleck doesn't talk directly to the audience, but the movie focuses on Fleck's journal, which is similar to something Scorsese often does in his films, like Taxi Driver. However, the sympathy for the Joker character from previous portrayals feels strange in a story dealing with real-world issues. In both Joker and Taxi Driver, the main characters go through twisted psychological journeys, have complicated relationships with women, and play with audience expectations. Travis Bickle, played by Robert De Niro, is a cab driver in gritty New York City. Similar to Joker's Arthur Fleck, Bickle is a classic character study, where the focus is on the main character and the story structure is unconventional. Schrader, who wrote both films, likes exploring characters this way, as seen in Citizen Kane and First Reformed. Joker is like Taxi Driver in how it shows a socially disconnected, mentally troubled main character. The similarities between Bickle and Fleck made Joker somewhat predictable, but Taxi Driver benefits from Bernard Herrmann's emotional music, especially the jazz that fits the tension in Bickle's unraveling mind. Both movies have a crucial moment where the main characters find a brief sense of purpose through romance. Travis pursues Betsy, while Arthur tries to connect with Sophie. However, these moments don't last, and their fragile masculinity leads them into darkness. Both characters make bad choices in their pursuit of romance, leading to isolation. Travis takes Betsy to a pornographic film, similar to Arthur's failed attempt at stand-up comedy. The rejection they face triggers anger, pushing them towards violence. In both Joker and Taxi Driver, the main characters Arthur and Travis go through intense psychological struggles that lead them deeper into their own troubled minds. The movies, with their climactic phases, skillfully depict the unsettling journey into madness, blurring the lines between reality and the character's thoughts. Travis fixates on Senator candidate Charles Palpatine in Taxi Driver, mirroring Arthur's obsession with a violent appearance on a talk show in Joker. Director Martin Scorsese's adept guidance in Taxi Driver captures the hypnotic descent into madness, using dreamlike sequences to challenge the audience's perception of reality. In contrast, Joker lacks the finesse of Taxi Driver, maintaining a consistent dark tone without the relief of smooth jazz. The last act of Taxi Driver introduces Iris, a 12-year-old Jodie Foster, symbolizing a chance for Travis's redemption. This unexpected narrative twist challenges expectations, as Travis, despite committing more murders, is hailed as a hero. Similarly, Arthur's violent act on the talk show earns him acclaim in Joker. Both films force audiences to confront the disturbing idea of unstable characters becoming heroes in society's eyes. The core of both characters' transformations involves the lack of concern for their mental stability from those around them. Travis's inner turmoil manifests outwardly in an assassination attempt and a shootout against a prostitution ring in Taxi Driver. In Joker, Arthur's descent into madness culminates in the murder of a talk show host on live television. A notable aspect is the celebration of violence by supporting characters. Taxi Driver concludes with Travis seemingly becoming a hero, receiving positive media coverage and letters of gratitude despite his fatal wounds. Joker follows a similar path, with Arthur's crimes sparking social revolution and inadvertently causing the deaths of the Wayne family in the midst of a class riot. Both films present a thought-provoking exploration of society's response to individuals unraveling mentally and morally. It's important to understand that in movies like Joker and Taxi Driver, what unfolds on screen may not depict the actual truth of the situations portrayed. Instead, these events offer a glimpse into the perception of the main characters, Arthur in Joker and Travis in Taxi Driver. Both films, falling into the psychological thriller genre, strive to immerse the audience in the protagonist's experiences, blurring the line between reality and their distorted perceptions. Consequently, the seemingly glorified actions of Arthur and Travis at the end of their respective stories stem from their complete immersion in delusions, as they perceive themselves as messiahs in a world that has ignored them. The Joker stands out in stark contrast to other characters. Despite Arthur's efforts to seek help from his therapist, mother, and potential father, the movie portrays his transformation into the Joker as a triumph. By the end, Arthur rejects societal morals and embraces violence, becoming a counterculture cult hero. While audiences can empathize with Travis from Taxi Driver, who resisted his descent into darkness, Arthur repels viewers with his gleeful embrace of misery and murder. Travis's potential death adds irony that Joker lacks, as he may be punished for his violence, yet sees himself as a hero society never recognized. Another common thread in both films is the theme of unrequited love and the protagonist's imagined relationships. Travis in Taxi Driver develops feelings for Betsy, while Arthur in Joker takes his obsession to the next level by hallucinating a relationship with a woman named Sophie. Despite the differing approaches, the underlying theme remains consistent. Both characters project their need for connection onto women they see as unique, only to feel severed from society when these connections inevitably crumble. But if you think that's all about the film Joker, you are wrong. Not limited to Taxi Driver, Joker also carries echoes of the King of Comedy, another classic Martin Scorsese film, again starring none other than Robert De Niro, released in 1982. King of Comedy marked Scorsese's return to filmmaking and presented a darker narrative. Similarly, Joker, with De Niro as a talk show host, explores the success of socially marginalized comedians, commenting on oppression and idealization. While King of Comedy delivers its commentary with dark humor, Joker takes a tragic and repulsive approach to its mentally ill protagonist, Arthur Fleck. The film leaves the audience uncertain about whether to feel disgust or happiness for Fleck's character. Phillips' use of Sinatra's That's Life in the soundtrack echoes Scorsese's love for big band music, suggests a different message. Despite setbacks, Joker doesn't convey a tale of redemption or warning, but rather a gradual loss of humanity. For Scorsese, the numerous references may feel like blasphemy to a filmmaker who once described movies as an act of faith. So what are your thoughts on the parallels with Taxi Driver and the unique narrative choices in Joker? How do you interpret Arthur's descent into madness? Share your insights in the comments below. If you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more deep dives into the world of cinema. Until next time, keep questioning and exploring the stories that shape our perceptions. Thanks for watching.